Lapras so strong in so many matchups, even against Furret, but against Malamar, your Psywaves are triple resisted. So even if you're able to land the Sparkling Aria, you're just never really farming down.
Exactly, and then there's the potential of a super effective superpower coming through, so definitely not a great matchup for Lapras, but I mean, we'll have to see. Do you think Lapras, is it critical for either of these trainers to bring? I mean, it would be nice against NiteTimeClasher's Diggersby, and actually, let me check the Lapras movesets. Snotsss is actually running a Skull Bash Lapras, which means that that's going to make the matchup against Jumpluff that much worse.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a risk. I can see why people, and in this moment, why these trainers would decide to bring it, because it's very bulky, it offers a lot of neutral play, and if you can avoid the Malamar, there is some nice matchups across the board, and it looks like we're not going to have to wait any longer. This is Winners Finals, Snotsss versus NiteTimeClasher, a best-of-5 series, and Malamar instantly finds a target as it's staring down Diggersby.
But this is an uncomfortable matchup for Malamar. You don't want to debuff yourselves too early, and Diggersby is such a bulky Pokemon. It can definitely hang on through one, maybe even two superpowers.
Diggersby instant Scorching Sands. This will deal very nice damage to the Malamar and a 30% chance at an attack drop. Scorching Sands comes through. Do we see the debuff? Yes, we do.
Yeah, fishing for the debuff, and that is honestly critical because if you want to drop the amount of damage you take from super effective superpower, that could be huge. But Snotsss actually going for the foul play bait here. Doesn't want to drop his attack and defense yet, and NiteTimeClasher actually shields it.
So the bait works out for Snotsss. Snotsss now going for the superpower. This is one stage debuffed. Nighttime already burned one of his 2 Protect Shields in this matchup, not going to burn the second, and a super effective superpower is going to connect.
So you see how much health Diggersby has left there. NiteTimeClasher actually not throwing a charge attack, maybe was hoping for a catch, but Snotsss is actually going to be able to land the superpower on Diggersby.
This is now 2 stages debuff. Diggersby is able to hang on, so much energy available. There's a switch into his own Malamar. That's going to be answered with Tinkaton, and Tinkaton is up a Protect Shield, so it's looking very nice in this matchup.
I feel like I keep saying that Tinkaton is such a great answer to Malamar. That's not really what we saw in Pocket's last matchup, but this time, like you said, Tinkaton is up a shield. I feel like it will be able to finally muscle through the Malamar.
And no baits here from Snotsss, going straight for the play rough, immediately applying that pressure. NiteTimeClasher is forced to burn a shield on this Malamar.
Yeah, burns the shield, and NiteTimeClasher at this point down to 0 shields, also not able to switch out. So actually going to fire off the superpower, and I don't know if Snotsss actually clipped the play rough there, but he's going to let this debuffed superpower go.
I believe the double superpower was reached 1 turn early, so this should be a charge attack priority tie, and is Malamar with the higher attack. Snotsss now can decide, is it worth the shield to land this damage? Snotsss says no. Both Protect Shields staying intact.
But now he has to decide how he wants to take out the rest of this Malamar. It's really only going to be possible with his own Malamar. Took actually a super effective fairy win there, but now able to bring his Lapras onto the shieldless Jumpluff.
And this Lapras does not have access to Ice Beam. It has Skull Bash. Skull Bash will be able to boost up the defense of the Lapras. Lapras investing in early Protect Shield, and NiteTimeClasher able to successfully bait with the Aerial Ace.
Yeah, maybe kind of an obvious call considering that Snotsss had 2 shields, but you don't want to take any risk, especially this late into the tournament. Skull Bash going to connect onto the Jumpluff, but again, this is just non-stab neutral damage, not going to do a ton of damage, and Jumpluff easily able to hang on and get off this Acrobatics.
As the Lapras, this now means the Acrobatics is not as threatening because your defense has been boosted. Double shields here, and does actually shield that Acrobatics.
Lapras continuing to farm up energy, should be able to reach the Aria before Acrobatics is fired, and perfect counter by Snotsss. I think that was maybe just 1 turn before the Acrobatics.
Very nicely done. The Diggersby at the start of the match does have an incredible amount of energy, if I'm not mistaken. In comes the Malamar. Malamar does not have any residual energy here. Lapras, we're going to see a switch, and he perfectly predicts the combo play. What a play from Snotsss!
And Scorching Sands lands onto this very, very low health Lapras, and at this point, if you're Snotsss, I think all you have to do is Psywave down this Diggersby and land the Sparkling Aria onto Malamar.
Oh my goodness, Malamar doesn't have the move. The Sparkling Aria is reached. Snotsss with the prediction of a lifetime to clutch the Game 1 win here in Milwaukee.
I was a little worried that Snotsss wasn't going to be able to find a way to take out NiteTimeClasher's Malamar, but he found a way with just a neutral Sparkling Aria. We were talking about how terrible the Lapras matchup is for Malamar, but we saw the tables turned at the end of game number 1.
And that Lapras, once it got its defense boosted, it almost felt a little bit invincible, where even if Malamar got that Superpower. Superpower is not going to be enough, but I have to go back to that prediction. That prediction was unbelievable, predicting to the exact half second when NiteTimeClasher would go for the combo play, getting that catch. Brilliance from Snotsss on display.
And we heard NiteTimeClasher, I think, in an interview talking about, kind of trying to predict your opponent's plays and outthink them. And I feel like Snotsss just kind of flips that on its head there. Like he said, making the perfect prediction. But just as a reminder to the viewers at home, this is the winners finals, so it's not win or drop yet for NiteTimeClasher. It is a best of 5 and not a best of 3.
This is true. And in this matchup, if you end up losing, you're going to go to the losers finals and play against Pocket in another best of 5. Every match from here on out is going to be the best of 5 format.
Exactly right. And just taking another look at these highlights, again, perfect counting from Snotsss. I feel like his mechanics have just been so well tuned by all of that Go Battle League experience. You see the catch here as well of the Scorching Sands, and yeah, really just immaculate play in game number 1.
So well played by Snotsss. And Lapras, we were so worried about the Malamar, but here it is, flipping the script, being able to knock out arguably its worst matchup on this team. And it looks like we have a double lock-in for game number 2.
And here's the adjustment from Snotsss, actually bringing the Corviknight, and it's actually found its target in that grass type, Shadow Jumpluff.
And there's Tinkaton in the back. NiteTimeClasher running a line that is very weak to a Corviknight lead. Snotsss ran Corviknight so much in day 1, has left it behind day 2, but here it is on the field right where he needs it to be.
It's really nice that you resist all of the Fairy Winds and Acrobatics coming through from the Shadow Jumpluff, but you also have to remember your own Sand attacks are also very resistant, but you're going to be able to deal some nice, super effective damage with the Sky attack.
We will see an early shield from this Shadow Jumpluff. NiteTimeClasher gave up an early shield in game number 1 as well.
Jumpluff continuing to farm up energy, gonna fire the Acrobatics just before another possible Sky attack can come through. Not that either of these charge attacks would be lethal, but you do want to get off your charge attacks first in order to see what your opponent does.
This Sky attack, it's super effective damage, but the important thing to remember is it will not be enough to knock out. NiteTimeClasher thought about reaching for a swap, but Snotsss timed that charge attack in the middle of the Fairy Wind to deny any potential chance at a catch.
NiteTimeClasher actually putting up both Protect Shields on this Jumpluff. Looking at Snots's team, I can see why he did that. Jumpluff has interesting or neutral matchups across the board into Snots's team, but he is now down 0 to 2 shields.
Snotsss now has an ability to send in Tinkaton, and Tinkaton is going to do so well. And for NiteTimeClasher, things could get a little bit uncomfortable. If you decide to make a switch out of here, you'd have to switch in your own Tinkaton, and that would be then down energy. So he's going to stay in for now, fire off the Acrobatics, safe in the knowledge that this isn't a range where the Jumpluff would get knocked out by a Play Rough from this Tinkaton.
Looking at NiteTimeClasher's backline, he might be thinking that even though he's down 2 shields, alignment might be enough, but never mind, he actually brings in his own Tinkaton to catch this resisted Play Rough. Beautiful
Prediction there by NiteTime. Snotsss overfarmed to avoid the catch. NiteTimeClasher catches anyway. And now with a Malamar in the back, Snotsss can't really afford to switch it in just yet. So NiteTime giving up both shields at the start, and there's still so much health available on that Jumpluff.
But this might be kind of nice for Snotsss because now his Malamar does get to avoid the Tinkaton from NiteTimeClasher. He also got the defense fall, which means that his next Bulldoze, I think this was a charge attack priority by the way, is actually going to do that much more damage to NiteTimeClashers.
Bulldoze still not known for its damage, even with a debuff defense and super effective. We see a second debuff, but it will not be enough to knock out the Tinkaton for NiteTimeClasher.
And Snotsss going to take this Bulldoze, maybe realizing he needs to save a little bit of this Tinkaton to potentially clear some debuffs later. Bulldoze coming through from NiteTimeClasher, and now if you're Snotsss, I think you're just praying, please do not debuff me. I am locked in here for 40 more seconds.
It's a 50-50. Bulldoze onto the Malamar, no debuff, but there's so much energy available on the Shadow Jumpluff. NiteTimeClasher committing to this Jumpluff in game number 2, and now Jumpluff looks to be a problem for Malamar, as Malamar cannot even knock out at this health range with a foul play.
But this is exactly what Snotsss was saving all of those shields for. NiteTimeClasher gonna go for another bait, and I expect Snotsss to continue side-waving until he is confident that the Jumpluff is in foul play range.
Another Aerial Ace bait is gonna grab another Protect Shield. Snotsss will get to overfarm in this matchup, firing off this foul play, looking to finally remove this Jumpluff from the field of play.
But there's still that Diggersby in the back from NiteTimeClasher. It's still at full health. Actually, that foul play didn't knock out the Jumpluff, but just another Sidewave was able to get the job done. And now for Snotsss, the fact that he was able to preserve that Tinkaton is gonna come in really handy to clear these superpower debuffs.
All Protect Shields down in this matchup. Diggersby takes super effective damage from Superpower, but after you throw one, future ones will do less. Diggersby farming up. There's a switch attempt, and it does not go through. No catch for NiteTimeClasher.
Great reaction, or maybe anticipation from Snotsss. Gets the superpower off first. He can actually switch out if he wants to, knowing that he will win CMP against Diggersby if it comes down to that.
The superpower lands. There's the switch to the Tinkaton. And for NiteTimeClasher, he's farming up a ton of energy. The bulldoze is reached, and this bulldoze, it's not meaningful damage, but this is absolutely superpower range on that Diggersby.
And all Snotsss need to do at this point is just wait until the Malamar comes in, make sure he can tap that superpower. Actually, at this point, maybe even a foul play would be enough to take out this Diggersby and give Snotsss a 2-0 lead.
The Fire Punch is going to pick up the knockout. There's the superpower. He's winning the charge attack priority tie, and Snotsss survives the 2 shielded jump bluff at the start of the match, and he is now 1 win away from grand finals as the match timer counts down to 0.
And Malamar finding its way through a match in which there were 2 Fairy Wind users on NiteTimeClasher's team, but just immaculate piloting from Snotsss. You know, he had that 2 shields advantage throughout the entire game, and we might have been wondering, what is he saving those shields for? But we saw he used them to pilot that Malamar through the jump left matchup and come out with energy for the Diggersby.
I loved how Snotsss used Corviknight in that matchup. He used Corviknight as a damage sponge, saying, I will not commit resources to Corviknight. If you want to go down 2 shields to 0, you can be my guest. That's okay by me. I'm going to save my shields for the damage dealers in the back, that Malamar, and you identified so perfectly that the moment that catch was failed, Snotsss having the ability to get the back-to-back superpowers, throw 1, switch out to reset that attack drop, and be able to clutch the series.
And having all the experience in these endgame situations, I know Snotsss has a lot of battles logged in the Go Battle League, so I know he's been in these kinds of situations many, many times, knows that exactly what his win conditions are, and you know, right there, as we saw NiteTimeClasher going for the catch, not able to get it against that 1-turn Psywave user.
And Diggersby left with the Scorching Sands loaded, but Malamar has the higher attack stat, and Malamar winning the charge attack priority tie, denying that energy with a superpower, and what a brilliant game.
And we've been hyping up Tinkaton all weekend, but I'm starting to think, or maybe I should have thought, Malamar is the secret star of the show. It's on the field once again for Snotsss in game number 3.
Staring down a Shadow Jump Bluff. Shadow Jump Bluff does have super effective Fairy Wind damage, but if you have to stay in this matchup, Malamar can honestly make this matchup quite close.
I wonder if Snotsss is thinking he might go for a catch at some point. He's staying in for quite a while, but both of his backline Pokemon actually resist the charge attacks from Jump Bluff.
Foul play is going to connect. Now we will see the switch out here, and a catch! Gets the catch onto the Tinkaton. Did NiteTimeClasher go for the Airy Lace, or was it the Acrobatics? I'm expecting it is the Acrobatics. That's a nice catch.
That's a lot of energy down the drain from Snotsss, but he does lock his own Tinkaton in. And at this point, NiteTimeClasher probably going to bank a lot of energy and then bring in the Diggersby, which can now land 1 Scorching Sands to take out the Tinkaton.
But you see the line construction here from Snotsss. Snotsss running 2 Pokemon in the back that have a weakness to ground. So this is in the plan. Waste the Jump Bluff's energy, desync the timers, and now with Diggersby out of the way, can Unova Stunfisk pull off an endgame sweep?
And I think this actually was a charge attack priority. So again, probably the best case scenario for Snotsss here. Gonna land this play rough, and NiteTimeClasher gonna go for the Scorching Sands. I'm actually not sure whether it's even enough to take out from here, but looks like he is going to throw, and Snotsss is gonna let it go.
A full charge from NiteTimeClasher. Scorching Sands connects, and it does not knock out. There's the Malamar switch timer, not yet available. Snotsss getting all of this energy, going for the foul play right before the Scorching Sands is reached.
More perfect counting from Snotsss, which is what we've come to expect from him. NiteTimeClasher actually going to shield the Diggersby at just the last second, wants to make sure he can get off the Scorching Sands.
Scorching Sands, this is a pretty nice attack, but Diggersby, very low attack as a species, so it will not be enough to knock out. Scorching Sands does get an attack drop. In comes Tinkaton, and Malamar will leave a parting gift of a -1 stage debuffed superpower.
This is a nice parting gift, but Snotsss is probably pretty happy thinking, hey, my Unovan Stunfisk in the back has a great matchup against this Tinkaton, and he's also up a Protect Shield, which means he can shield those Bulldozes if he needs to.
In comes the Stunfisk. We are going to see the Bulldoze launched at that Stunfisk. Bulldoze is super effective damage, but it does not hit very hard. Bulldoze is going to connect. Do we see the debuff? We do not.
The nice thing for Snotsss is, again, he has saved a very low health Tinkaton in the back if he needs to clear debuff, but like you said, no debuff quite yet. NiteTimeClasher actually now going for the heavier hitting play rough here. Snotsss going to shield it up though.
That's a great prediction by Snotsss. He correctly calls that that would not be the Bulldoze, and getting that call right does mean that a lot of energy from NiteTimeClasher unfortunately does not find a target.
Mud Bomb coming through doesn't quite take out the Tinkaton yet. I think it's going to be able to make another charge attack, but Snotsss, maybe anticipating a catch, doesn't throw his energy, and here comes the Jumpluff from NiteTimeClasher, going to throw a charge attack.
Everything Jumpluff throws is going to be resisted, but the Stunfisk has taken quite a lot of damage throughout the course of this match. Acrobatics lands, that adds up. Back-to-back discharges available for Snotsss on this Stunfisk.
At this point, NiteTimeClasher not able to knock out with the acrobatics, but he did put the Stunfisk maybe into Bulldoze range, but that discharge actually doesn't even come close to knocking out. Now NiteTimeClasher actually able to reach an Aerial Ace, starting to put a lot of pressure onto this low health Unovan Stunfisk.
Aerial Ace, it's not a great attack. Snotsss is going to let this through. This Stunfisk is so low. It's going for a full farm down. He exits with so much energy, but there's still a Protect Shield available for NiteTimeClasher.
Oh, Tinkaton comes in. It's actually very, very low health, and Snotsss realizing he needed to maybe just Thunder Shock down this Tinkaton and have both charge attacks for the final Pokemon on NiteTimeClasher side because there is still a shield. So gonna fire off this Mud Bomb. Quick attack comes through, and I think Snotsss is realizing he didn't get the charge attacks aligned where he needed them.
NiteTimeClasher, this remaining Protect Shield is what's going to win him this match. He gets that quick attack farm down of the Stunfisk. In comes Tinkaton, and that's getting farmed down as well.
NiteTimeClasher trying to crawl his way out of the 0-2 hole, but he's got to start there. He's brought the series to 1-2. Again, it's going to be first to 3 points, wins this match, and goes to the grand finals. Loser drops to the losers finals.
For Snotsss, you have 3 opportunities to get this final game. Wasn't able to quite get it in game number 3, but still 2 more opportunities. We've seen an extreme variety in the lines that Snotsss has brought. There was the Corviknight in game 2, the Unova Stunfisk in game 3. So he's switching it up and trying to be unpredictable, maybe trying to catch NiteTimeClasher off guard.
I think Snotsss has brought every Pokemon except for the Furret, which maybe looking at NiteTimeClasher's team is pretty afraid of the Tinkaton and Malamar, and Snotsss also maybe just thinking he has better options. And in terms of NiteTimeClasher, we've seen him really relying on the Tinkaton Diggersby, I think, throughout these matches. So curious to see whether he makes any adjustments for game number 4, given that he's now picked up a win.
In game number 3, he made the very nice catch of the acrobatics onto the Tinkaton, a strategy built around luring out the Diggersby, but the Diggersby was still around in the end game there. He got the farm down, but he realized he just didn't have enough health remaining on the Stunfisk. A charge attack available, but a shield available for NiteTimeClasher meant that he got to protect that Diggersby. Thunder Shock, double resisted, Stunfisk can't farm down, and Diggersby farms down the remainder of the team.
Looking at how Snotsss is reacting, he's probably thinking he wanted to Thunder Shock down the Tinkaton, but I don't even know if there was enough HP left to do that. But let's get into game number 4 here. NiteTimeClasher again relying on that trusty Diggersby, and it's met with Snots's Corviknight.
Corviknight makes its return. This matchup can be a bit uncomfortable for Diggersby. I've seen an aggressive pivot out into the Shadow for Alligator, and there is no response available for Snotsss.
No Furret, no Lapras, and Snotsss is probably just going to have to stay in here or else try to tag team this for Alligator because like he said, there's no clear answer. He's just got the Malamar and the Tinkaton in the back.
Hydro Cannon draws an early Protect Shield. We are actually going to see a bait now from Snotsss and an immediate shield from NiteTimeClasher. But even with the bait, Shadow for Alligator just has such a pacing advantage in this matchup.
It's a bad matchup. You really have to scrap for every possible advantage you can. And Snotsss actually brings in the Tinkaton. Not typically a good matchup, but maybe now that you've pulled 1 Protect Shield from the Feraligatr, you can try to start landing those play roughs.
Feraligatr very close to the back-to-back charge attacks, but importantly does not quite have it yet. So Snotsss can afford to let this go and then look to fire off the charge attack here right before that second Hydro Cannon is reached. And now NiteTimeClasher has a decision to make. He decides it is the play rough, and he is absolutely correct.
And that's going to allow him to farm up quite a bit more energy before throwing the Hydro Cannon. Actually, Snotsss goes for the Bulldoze, but NiteTimeClasher catches it on Diggersby, banking all the energy on the Feraligatr.
That Feraligatr energy looked terrifying into the line that Snotsss brought, and now that it's saved in the back, I think this is going to be a very difficult game. Switch clock. Snotsss would love to be able to save the Tinkaton here. Can he switch out? He cannot, and he's forced to settle for a Bulldoze. And unfortunately, the energy that he had on the Tinkaton, it just didn't do anything to that Diggersby.
Oh man, and NiteTimeClasher just has so much energy on all of these Pokemon now. Scorching Sand's going to come through on the Malamar. Snotsss still has a Protect Shield, and knowing that the Feraligatr has so much energy, I don't think he can afford to shield the Scorching Sands.
Scorching Sands will land. Will we see the attack drop? Yes, we will, making Malamar's job even more difficult, as now Superpower not at its usual effectiveness.
Superpower coming through. It is going to be super effective, but like you said, with that attack drop, I don't think it's going to be nearly enough to take out the Diggersby. Coming into the Corviknight, trying desperately to clear that debuff, but NiteTimeClasher is ready to utilize all of the energy he banked on the Feraligatr.
Feraligatr almost at back-to-back Hydro Cannons. Hydro Cannon number 1 is going to connect, and there's Hydro Cannon number 2. This Shadow for Alligator, so much pressure put onto this Corviknight, and Corviknight just forced to fully let itself get knocked out.
Alligator still has quite a bit of health. Going to be very annoying to try and fast attack down, but I think it is going to be able to make this last Hydro Cannon and finally pull that Protect Shield.
And Malamar has all of the energy it could want, hoping that it's something that it can maybe one-shot. Is it a Lapras? But it's the Tinkaton in the back, and Tinkaton will have no problem making this Malamar energy disappear.
Foul play gonna come through, gonna knock out the Diggersby, but like you said, still a full health Tinkaton in the back. I actually don't think there's anything on NiteTimeClasher's team that gets one hit by the energy from a Malamar. Here comes the Tinkaton, so Snotsss, at least kind of taking notes on the lines that NiteTimeClasher is liking to bring, but it's actually going to be a 2-2 even series at this point.
So NiteTimeClasher playing with his life on the winner side of the bracket on the line, fighting back from 2-0 to 2 games apiece. And now we get a decisive game number 5 upcoming here on the broadcast.
And I have to admire NiteTimeClasher's play in that last game. Here's a tip for you at home. If you can knock out with fast attacks instead of a charge attacks, definitely do that. And that's what NiteTimeClasher recognized when he brought the Diggersby to quick attack down the Tinkaton when he could have thrown the energy with the Feraligatr.
That Feraligatr energy was so devastating endgame. That Corviknight was just overwhelmed instantly. It wanted to get to a charge attack, and in a split second, back-to-back Hydro Cannons, and Snotsss knew that if he shielded, he couldn't have a win con. So he had to let it go, try and farm down, but even Malamar energy could not save him from the full health Tinkaton in the back. So now as Snotsss, do you try and bring something that's a bit stronger into the Feraligatr? Because Feraligatr save switch, honestly, just completely overwhelmed in that game.
Wow, such a great call by NiteTimeClasher. Again, no Lapras, no Furret from Snotsss, and after that display, I have to imagine that he's going to bring at least one, if not both of those Pokemon. As for NiteTimeClasher, it feels like he has a lot of options. He can bring the Feraligatr again, or he could anticipate that Snotsss is going to bring those counters.
We have lock-ins, the moment we've been waiting for. Game number 5, winners finals. It's Corviknight, but it leads into Tinkaton, the matchup it's hunting for.
Probably the only matchup it's truly hunting for. Quick swap by NiteTimeClasher into the Malamar. We've seen this matchup time and time again. Met by Snotsss is Tinkaton.
Superpower is going to be launched at this Tinkaton. Superpower, Snotsss thinking about it. He's gonna no shield, understanding that Superpower will not be enough to knock out.
Just neutral damage, and the next one's going to do even less. Play rough coming through, and NiteTimeClasher still wants to invest in this Malamar. It feels like it's been his MVP all tournament long, and he wants to save it. He wants to save all this energy and deal even more damage to the Tinkaton.
Malamar does have a pretty significant pacing advantage here. Going to go for the Superpower. This is one stage debuff. Does Snotsss decide to match Protect Shields here? No. Snotsss is going to basically more or less sacrifice this Pokemon. The Play Rough's ready. We see the Play Rough thrown, and now NiteTimeClasher double shields to Malamar. He's playing for switch advantage in this incredibly important game.
He's got a lot of energy banked on this Malamar, and again, he goes down 2 shields in the mid-game trying to get switch advantage. A lot of energy here, but actually is going to catch this last Bulldoze onto his Diggersby.
So saving all of that Malamar energy. I believe there's 2 full charge attacks loaded. All those debuffs from the Superpower now reset, but with switch advantage, Furret is going to get in a matchup that it's very comfortable in against that Diggersby.
It has these super effective Trailblazes, which of course, not only are they damage in themselves, but they're going to boost the Sucker Punch damage. And I think, the Furret saw the Malamar lead with all that Superpower energy, and now it gets to avoid that.
And Furret being able to boost itself up here, so no energy advantage for the Diggersby. It didn't sneak when it caught, which means that Furret gets to immediately buff itself. So if a Scorching Sands debuff does apply, then Furret would only be back to normal, but it does not come through. Furret now going to be boosted. Snotsss reaching for the Swift. The Swift is reached. Normally, Diggersby may be able to hang on here, but at +1, I think Diggersby's getting knocked out.
And Diggersby is left shieldless because its teammate Malamar ate all of those Protect Shields, but it still has a ton of energy. NiteTimeClasher now bringing in the Tinkaton, trying to absorb all this resisted damage from the Furret.
Banking the move, sending in the Corviknight. Corviknight will immediately be hit with the Play Rough. All charge attacks are going to be single resisted, so a Play Rough, it's a much better move than Bulldoze. It is going to inflict more damage in this matchup.
NiteTimeClasher is not locked in here, but he is going to stay and maybe waiting for the Corviknight to throw some energy. And here comes the Iron Head. This is, again, just neutral damage, Steel, and Fairy typing on the Corviknight. But again, this is such an advantageous matchup for the Corviknight.
I really like that Snotsss was able to bank a Trailblaze for later, so that way if he has to play to a win con where he's attempting to farm something down, his Sucker Punches will be at a higher level of efficacy than they typically are.
play rough coming through. Snotsss still going to be saving the energy. Here comes that Malamar energy. Foul play coming through. This would definitely do more than those play roughs from the Tinkaton, so Snotsss is going to start using his Protect Shields.
NiteTimeClasher with the successful bait will now get to fire off. I was going to say a superpower, but instead he's going for another foul play.
And Snotsss maybe taking a page out of NiteTimeClasher's book, going to put 2 shields into this Corviknight and try to get a lot of energy. But no, he actually just swaps out into the Furret to farm down the Malamar, and now he almost has 2 Swifts left for NiteTimeClasher's final Pokemon.
And there's no energy left for the Tinkaton. He's almost at the back-to-back Swifts. Snotsss on the precipice here of advancing to the grand finals.
That is further than he has ever advanced before. Just one more Sucker Punch and he reaches the Swift. This is resisted damage into the Tinkaton, but I think it is going to be enough to take this series 3-2.
And Snotsss able to survive best of 5 series. He's gonna take it. Snotsss now with his best ever placement at a tournament. He advances to grand finals at a guaranteed top 2 finish.